This is your year to survive it all, and you hope, that's exactly what happens.
We would go out and help, because our next door neighbor
He's
is
done
huge
testing
into
this
it.
week,
He's
everything's
actually
coming back
works
really
with
good
search and
so
rescue
far.
with the county, and so
Screens here.
he got us a while.
Am I
How
supposed
about
to
that?
teleprompter? I don't know which one we.
Lost that back.
Well, my iPad was
Where
dead
they
when I went to
race,
pick it up,
it's
so.
like 100-mile race. And so they have
Oh,
people set
do
up
we watch that
stations
or
and they
this?
come through, and we use our,
Does that
They
mean,
should have got some more so we could.
have these people check in.
And we can control it.
That's why for years, I would spend,
Don't have to bring anything.
stay and camp out over the night.
every 4 years?
Right.
But then, once my son got his eagle and was done with scouting,
Then we know Scott's coming.
I don't know that.
yeah, we built some benches for the local park.
Are you gonna start with me first?
We got permission from the city, met with the city.
We
park
miss him.
director.
Scott.
You know, we could put the benches, we dug holes and put, to put them down. And we're sitting here driving.
Whoever they think won't turn them
No,
down.
I never did. I never did.
How'd you guys mistake this? I go, they must just be.
Off on Main Street, huh? At least on my side.
Oh,
See, I don't lose it when you.
Luckily it was a
I come from
telephone.
Fort North.
But they were live, there was power to go through. So, I just told the
I'm
kids,
glad I did several times over.
like together, just take, suck it back
Because I'm
in.
catching it, it's coming down the hill, and I don't get debris or anything.
Oh, really? Well,
so how's your missionary doing? And I hear you're gonna be a grandpa.
There you go.
I am.
That's fun.
Hi, Mike.
You liking all this?
It's okay.
From where?
I'm glad someone.
Okay, Mike,
You get
are we
home
ready?
earlier today? Oh, well, that's why. You probably had to stay home.
Would like to welcome you to our Planning Commission meeting today on June 11th, 2024. We'll begin today with an invocation given by Commissioner Marchbanks, and then we'll ask Commissioner Showers to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
He's on a call.
Oh.
Our Father in heaven, we come before thee this evening at the Planning Commission here at Lindon City. We thank thee for the many blessings, Father in heaven. We thank thee for living in a free country and for the beautiful place we live here in Lindon, Father in heaven. Help us be about the city's business this evening in a fair and right manner. And we again thank thee for those that serve our country and do the good things that they do. We say these things humbly in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to switch this, so it's what I'm used to. There. We'll start tonight with an audible roll call of the commissioners. Sharon Call.
Here.
Mike Marchbanks.
Here.
Rob Callis.
Here.
Steve Johnson here. Scott Thompson currently is not. Jared Showers.
Here.
Karen Danielson.
Here.
The next item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from our meeting on May 28th of 2024. The commissioners have received those minutes beforehand and have had a chance to review them. Is there anything that needs to be corrected or anything you saw in those minutes that we need to bring up?
I didn't, and I read them pretty careful.
They look good to me. If the commission approves the minutes, do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. The next item on the agenda is a time for public comment. So if there's anybody here that would like to address the commission on a matter that is not on the agenda today, now is the time that they can do that. Is there anybody here for that purpose? Perfect. Okay. Item number 4 on our agenda today. This is a general plan, future land use map and zoning map amendment. This will go on to the city council, and after presentation, we will open up a public hearing for this matter. The applicant is Jason Brown. Do you want to come forward? And anybody else that you want to present with you is welcome to come forward. There is a place just to write your name down, stuff, so make sure we get it spelled correctly in the record.
I could do that.
Our presenting staff is Mike Florence. So we will turn the time over to Mike.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. Appreciate being here with you this evening. Mr. Brown has made an application for a general plan amendment and zoning map amendment, and then also as well made an application for a development agreement, and we're gonna go through those here in a few minutes. So the property is located right here on 700 North. It's this parcel. It's approximately, Jason, how many acres is that?
7.2,
7.19.
7.19.
So almost 7.2 acres. Thank
Strike
you.
that from the record.
And so the property is currently, sorry, let me go back. There's 2 applications. I'm gonna present both items in this first application, because it'll make sense going through through it all together. And so the property currently has a land use designation of, let me go to that really quick. Sorry, I had it in here. So it currently has a land use designation as commercial gateway. And so if you remember, as part of that general plan, we focused on that intersection around Anderson Boulevard. So it has a general plan designation of commercial gateway, and then it's proposed to change that to mixed commercial. The gateway commercial, again, is around that intersection. It's supposed to envision to become a walkable mixed-use downtown area, and this would not be removing all of that, only a portion of that area to mixed commercial. And it talks about consisting, and basically this would need to update this wording as well, but it consists of a long and narrow area on the east side of Geneva Road, because that's the only place right now we have mixed commercial. So we'd need to update this language in the general plan to it if you were to approve this general plan change. The other item that is before you is the general plan, or sorry, the zoning map amendment. It's currently zoned Lindon Village, and the proposal is to rezone a portion of that, as indicated here on this map in front of you, to mixed commercial. And let me explain why. Jason can go in more detail, but I'll go into just a high-level discussion on this. And so the applicant is proposing an 88,000 square foot indoor sports facility, where half of that currently would be a sports facility. Let me go to back to the site plan here. So 50% of that for now would be a sports facility, 50% of it would be warehouse. And that is to make sure this project moves along, and then as the applicant, as the sports facility is successful, then he would move into that warehouse area incrementally until he has the whole site whole building as a sports facility. Let me go back to the staff report real quick. So a couple other goals to look at from the general plan. So the general plan has the, you know, what the wording is for those different land use designations, some of the goals for this, our policies directed towards 700 North is to create places for the community together and events to draw residents to these places, establish a new 700 North commercial gateway on 700 North as a commercial destination of the community, develop the 700 North commercial gateway according to the principles and ideas contained in the 700 North small area master plan. And going to that master plan, again, the vision is to, as a gateway to Lindon City, foster unique experiences for the community together, high design standards. We want to see retail, restaurants, employment, services, experiential attractions. This TOD core area around here would be to focus on a future bus rapid transit, or long-term would be light rail along that rail corridor. And so, do you have any questions for me on either the zoning map amendment, or the general plan amendment? Okay.
Just that the, you know, to be able to have the warehouse back there, that's the reason we've got to change the zoning. Otherwise, it would be okay.
That's correct. If the applicant were doing just the sports facility, then he would just come before you for site plan approval and a conditional use permit. But because of the warehouse, that's issue is why we need the zone change. The ordinance does allow that for a use that you could do 20% warehouse. So if it was just a sports facility, you could do 20% warehouse, but that doesn't fit into the plan the applicant will discuss with you here in a few minutes. The other thing we want to do is put a development agreement in place. If you remember, with Mark Weldon's project on 600 North and 2800 West, when he changed from commercial general A8 to mixed commercial, we also put a development agreement in place that outlined what the building would look like, what the site will look like. In this instance, we want to do that as well, so that's why we've had Jason apply for that. Couple things, the development agreement is not ready. We still need to draft that, and so we need the Planning Commission to review that as part of the zone change and general plan amendment. And so we want to bring that back to you next time for your next meeting. So as staff, we're asking that you continue this so we can continue to draft those items. But a couple things we would want to see in the development agreement are renderings and design standards that support the goals of the area. The use of that flag lot. So if you go back to this, you know that this is used for access and not a building. This little staff portion of the flag lot. That the percentage of warehouse versus sports facility space. And then in discussing this more with Jason, what does this look like if the sports facility were to go away? You know, the city would want to see some type of storefront, and I think Jason would too, that, the buildings may be reoriented, that there's some storefronts along that front facade that could be used, and it doesn't turn entirely into warehouse space. So those are things that we would include in the development agreement. So as far as staff's concerned, these sports facilities, they are a destination. I take my daughter, all over the state to play volleyball and basketball, and they bring in a lot of people. And they also need places to eat and, hotels and things like that. The one thing, that you need to look at is, will we still be meeting the vision of our 700 North master plan and our goals of our general plan with this zone change? And then, the other thing to look at as well is you've got ACE disposal to the north of this facility. And, in the future, they could expand. They own the whole property. They have a conditional use permit with Pleasant Grove. And so how do we, transition to, this area as well? And so with that, I would be glad to answer any questions. And the applicant is here to present some additional information as well. And Jason, maybe you can go over your renderings and site plan and things.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in your vision. This is your vision.
Yeah, so.
Tell us everything. Well, what do you,
This is
what do
probably
you
not a
think it is?
smart idea from an investment standpoint, to be honest with you. I have 5 kids. I'm a 20-year Lindon resident. I love sports. One thing that we've always been lacking here in the area is facilities, or our facilities. I have a daughter that plays high-level volleyball down at Elevate. You guys have heard of Elevate Volleyball?
Yep.
Down across the freeway. They would actually be coming in here to occupy space. They're currently at 2 volleyball courts. They want to go up to 4. We have another group called Mountain City Basketball who wants to come in and occupy space. We're super excited about it. With my son, he plays on a really competitive AAU team. I've traveled the whole country the last couple years, seen different facilities, and every time I go into them, I'm like, man, why don't we have anything like this? And so one of my partners back here, Charlie, our sons play together. About a couple years ago, we started putting this idea together. Like, let's figure something out. And so that's kind of where it started. And you know, we understand some of the requirements. We feel like this location is going to bring a lot of, you know, our vision is to bring in big tournaments, lots of people. We'll be in contact with, you know, Adidas and Under Armour and a few other big groups like that to come run big tournaments out of there. And you know, the idea is to drive a lot of fun for the kids, have somewhere for them to go, and to, you know, both my kids play. My son will be a junior at Pleasant Grove playing basketball. My daughter will be a sophomore at Pleasant Grove playing basketball. And, you know, I guess out of a selfish reason for me, I got 3 more kids coming up after them. I'm like, man, this would be kind of sweet. I just live off of Locust, so I'm like, man, that's close, and it's, you know, really good location. And anyway, our vision's that. Our vision is to just add to the community, supply something that's, I think, should be in high demand and is needed, and do it in a way that we can deliver a first-class experience to kids, and then, you know, something that's not, you know, that the city could be proud of too. Like, I drive by there every single day, so it's not something I want to look at and be like, man, that thing's terrible, or, you know, whatever.
Why did you say, oh, this isn't a smart financially? I mean, it seems to me, looking at it, there's so many other things, pickleball, racquetball. This community doesn't have an indoor
That's a great
track.
question.
It doesn't have all of that. It seems like this is an ideal place for a gym. There was a lot of excitement about a gym on the east end.
Yeah.
I mean, on the west end of that property when they canceled.
Yeah.
You know, so why do you say it's not?
Question, that's a really good question. There's been a lot of these facilities that have come and gone and not materialized. Open court at the Point of the Mountain. There was a brand new one that was opened up in Layton just this last year that opened and closed within the month it opened. And the reason why is you got to have the right people running the right things, doing it the right way. And we've been putting together a team that we feel is going to do that. And you know, if you're calculated about it and smart about it, I think it can turn out to be great, and it can thrive. But the key is, if you're just trying to run, you know, minimal stuff in there, it's not gonna, you really got to go in and have a big outreach and bring in lots of tournaments, lots of people for it to make sense.
So when that happens,
Yeah.
you're going to want to expand into the lower, into the warehouse space.
Yeah, so to answer, and that's the question, I mean, obviously a question on that, but the other partner, we have 4 partners involved in this currently. One, I don't know if you guys have heard of NutriCost. It's a big supplement company. They're actually the largest supplement company in the Western U.S. Min, who owns that, is huge into youth sports.
Okay.
He's Asian, and he knows his kids will never be tall, but he loves basketball. So he just loves it. But he's just such a good dude. But he currently is leasing a few 100,000 square feet of warehouse space down in the Vineyard area. And so when we approached him about this youth idea, he's like, I want in. I definitely want in. How can I be of help? Like, obviously, our kind of love language is bring us some money. Do that. But also, you know, if you can help us out to make sure that we can go scale this right. If we just try and go, you know, blow it out with 8 courts right off the bat, I think our level of success is, you know, going to be in question.
real quick, it takes time to go build that. And so he's like, hey, well, why don't I come in not only as a money partner, but I will also lease out some of the space that I already need. I'm already currently signing more lease space. Let me sign on that. And as we grow the business, I can just move out incrementally to help support, what we're trying to build. So I'm just trying to hedge my risk as much as possible and do it in a smart way. If the thing, we don't anticipate it blowing up in any form or fashion. We're putting a lot of time and effort and resources into making this happen. And we really feel like we have a really solid game plan going forward. But if you're talking about like worst case scenario, just didn't, that's why I've gone to Mike and said, well, I want something that we can be able to be proud of too. And I mean, the worst case scenario is you turn it into, retail in the front. And it's just hard with that kind of shell of a building, right? You try and build this big building, so you're a little bit limited on what you can do if someone were to go backwards, so.
Jason, let me have you move the microphone just a little closer.
I guess
Thanks.
in that regards, if you have that commercial application, I'd be a little bit concerned about access for like large semis and stuff. So there's no loading docks. Are you saying large loading docks or just?
So, we haven't even got that deep,
Element?
honestly.
Okay.
There is room if we were to do loading docks, it'd be like one small loading dock. We're not trying to make this, that kind of building at all. It's more of I guess we'd have to look at it. I don't really have the answer to that.
So what are you seeing as,
Well, I just
they
see-
would have to bring in a lot of,
Like if you have a
loading
loading dock, a loading dock could, in theory, mean 56-foot semis coming in
Yeah.
there. That's what
I
that,
think Scott's just looking at, in the downside event,
yeah.
he might need to get a truck or two back there to utilize the warehouse space.
Yeah.
right.
But that's not the primary.
Well, going back to this, just to get into your question a little bit more, we also have the lot next to me under LOI currently, and also the one across the street. There's gonna be a through street into Pleasant Grove.
Okay.
So Charlie has been doing commercial development. How old are you, Charlie? Forever. He's been doing it forever. And done a lot of stuff over by Lone Peak High School, all that stuff up in Cedar Hills. He owns a Days Market down in Provo. So we are, through his contacts, we're actively trying to put a hotel in there to help support what we're trying to do with we're already talking to a lot of those people currently. So that's what we have plans as far as the adjacent lots of like, hey, what can we bring in that not only adds to the community, but also supports what we're doing. If we're trying to throw the tournament size that we want to throw, I mean, it's 10,000 people that comes in, they're gonna be looking for things to do and places to stay and all that stuff. So you guys have probably all been to tournaments like that. They're a little bit crazy, but fun but crazy. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that
Okay.
sounds great. Sounds
Okay.
great. You answered my
So
concern.
if the commercial part wasn't successful though, you do understand that the warehouse, I mean, that would always stay commercial. The whole building couldn't become a warehouse.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's what
Yeah.
that's what we've talked about is making more retail frontage and making sure we can.
And that, and then I understand you want to put, a couple of like fast food type things in the front.
Yeah, so our other partner, Min, he's the owner of Cup Bop. He already wants to use one of those spots for Cup Bop or talking about some other ones. So we just feel like, as moms and everyone else are bringing all the kids, that's how my wife runs around all day long. I feel like in the car taking kids to sporting events, but just have something great there for them to take advantage of.
Okay.
It's great. I think it's a great addition.
So smart, yeah.
Jason, maybe you could talk about your rendering. for a
Before you
few
get
minutes.
to that,
Yeah.
Mike, it was mentioned that the street would go through from Seventh to Pleasant Grove.
That's what we've been told.
Is that
So
true?
that-
Master plan.
So that's right here. So Anderson Boulevard, which is here, it'll connect through to Pleasant Grove there.
Really?
So, is the ACE expansion?
We'd rather actually not have it go through, but,
Which way is the ACE expansion
To the
potential?
east,
They're here, So they would expand here to the south that way.
Of their building, but.
So are we gonna have transfer trucks going through there?
No, this is a very narrow road. You can see, you know, with parking on both sides, it's very narrow. What we want to do is do some type of chokers or something like that, or roundabout, or something, so it will discourage trucks to
Or
be able
just-
to go through there.
Or possibly just weight restrictions.
Yeah.
Weight restrictions alone going through there would stop it.
And Pleasant Grove is part of the conditional use permit for ACE. They have a certain route that they have to take anyways.
Everything on Sam White Boulevard there is kind of commercial or industrial. Do we really want the road to go through?
It's on our master plan, and so unless we amend our master plan, it needs to be on there. We think it's a good idea. I mean, let's say you do get some residential in here. I mean, you're gonna have a stoplight here also. I mean, even people from Anderson Farms or the Fieldstone Development, they'll be able to go through this stoplight, go down Sam White Lane. They can go to the new doTERRA facility. I mean, what is it called? The Ruth?
The Ruth,
You know, it'll
The Ruth.
be a way to connect. You do have a bunch of residential here in Pleasant Grove as well, on Sam White Lane.
Yeah, that'll connect, even connection as well to the facility.
You were
And as
saying-
far,
oh,
oh, go ahead.
You were saying you don't want it to go through, is there a reason?
Just probably for, we're talking about big trucks, garbage trucks, just stuff that
I
we
think,
wouldn't.
I think that could
love.
be eliminated through a tighter traffic circle, no vehicles over a certain length, no vehicles over a certain weight on this section of the roadway.
Yeah, it can be mitigated.
That could be mitigated pretty easy, I think.
And I guess you do understand that the warehouse would back up next to the waste facility.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I'm-
that's why it's an ideal buffer. I can't
As
think of
far
a
as
better
for a
buffer.
warehouse, yeah.
Cause I don't see
Yeah.
Ace going away.
And we've had to,
I mean, as far as if you wanna go to the aesthetics of the building, Mike's been kind of busting our chops a lot on this, so.
It looks really nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, so, it looks really nice for a basketball facility. Anyway, there'll be, you know, anything that's warehouse looking will be on the backside, but
Right.
backing up to that anyways, it's not gonna be visible to the road or anything.
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
because that's really important to us on
Yeah.
that corridor, that commercial space
Sure,
is
Totally get
really
that.
attractive.
yeah, yeah. Well, Mike has done you guys well, cause he's not letting us slide on.
Yeah.
one thing with the rent,
Well,
we haven't opened it up for.
we
yeah.
haven't opened the public hearing yet, just,
One thing with the rendering, like we did with Mark Weldon's project, we would like to see materials on this so that we know what the building facade exterior will look like. And so I believe, Jason, you're working on that.
Yeah, have you guys ever seen the front gym up in Salt Lake?
I have not.
I don't know if you wanna pull something like that up, but those are some of the, we're kinda wanting it to look sleek and cool and something where, you know, attracts kids and.
If you want to attract tournaments and stuff like
Right.
that, it's,
So there's a gym, I guess there's a bunch of them, right, Mike?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. We'll have to see if we
Climbing.
find the
Yeah,
right
some
one.
ultra rich dude has all these climbing gyms and he likes architecture and, our architect is a big fan of this look. And, you know, that's, you know, 10+ years old, still looks brand new. Kind of a different look, but it's got a bunch of different angles on the steel on there. I don't know if you can zoom in a different angle or anything, Mike, but. No. Yeah. So we're thinking something like that.
It's nice.
And that would be the reason for the development agreement, as you know,
Yeah.
so that we know exactly what your plan is.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't go, you know, you don't go design something like that and then try to make it look bad. later.
No, that's right.
I think it looks great.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
is-
we just want to know exactly what the
Yeah.
design is.
Sure.
Okay, does the commission have any more questions for the applicant or staff before we move this to a public hearing stage? I just have one real quick on the site plan roughly. Are the retail, the two restaurants or whatever, are those gonna be included in the development agreement?
We haven't talked about that
Or
yet.
are you planning on including those as part of the
We're
development?
planning on doing those. I mean, a lot of the time with that, I mean, first things first, we're trying to get the anchor of the project in, and then we'll kind of go. I mean, we're looking at that as a really good opportunity. Like, it'd be kind of not very smart of us not to take advantage of that.
Just one thing from my
Yeah.
standpoint, seeing other developments where the city's been promised a retail in front or a commercial in front for something in the back, and then that not coming to pass. That's just something that hopefully we could write that in or something so that
We're
those
actually
actually
doing, we will be
happen.
doing retail in the building as well. Like, we're gonna be doing, Min will be doing the supplements in there. We'll be doing gear. We'll be doing quite a bit of retail as you go into like the foyer of the building as well.
So I guess that was my question. Is this gonna be part of your development, or are you hoping someone else will come in and develop the front and you'll just develop the back?
That, we're trying to do not just this, but also the two corners of the adjacent lots. Does that make sense? So we have,
Yeah, so then you said you're hoping a hotel and some things on the other,
right.
so it's bigger than that, and so.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, when you're trying to go put something like this in, you kind of want to build an ecosystem that's gonna help support that, you know?
Well, and not only that, I see it, chicken egg thing, I see it getting the screening up and the buffer first might not be such a bad thing for the whole project there on 700 North.
Right, no,
So I'm not concerned about even tying a tiny.
It's not really pretty behind us, for sure.
Yeah.
But for us,
And
it's just great.
They're willing to do such a bang-up facade and basically then we ain't gotta deal with that anymore
And
Yeah.
back there.
Yeah.
It's an issue.
I think if with this here, if the building goes in first, you'll have restaurants fighting for those spots.
That's we hope. Yes, we hope.
This is not a site plan, of course, this is just a
Zoning.
thing, but that's a lot of parking and a lot of cars. You mentioned thousands of people coming for one egress. Will the state let them have more than one?
So the egress, the accesses to the different properties are already set with UDOT. We signed an agreement a decade ago when 700 North went in or more,
Okay.
that, so those are set. So he'll also probably have some cross accesses over to
The next part,
the next part where that road will go through.
yeah.
And there'll be a signal there.
And there on the east side, it looks like there's at least an opening for access, right?
Yeah.
To,
Yeah, there's one right here.
and then there's the one on the east
And
the
this
east side,
one.
right? I mean, they can come in, it looks like they could come in and access there from what it looks like on this plan.
Yeah, I think isn't it all, that's part of the code, right? You have to have all shared all the way across.
I
Mike, is that right?
don't know, because these were built before the
Yeah.
Linden Village Zone was
Which would be
created,
nice if it
so.
was.
Yeah,
I-
I mean,
I'm
just to
not
have
sure.
another opening there
Yeah, that's a good point.
where that, because it looks like there's another road, right, that's supposedly gonna connect there.
We can. Yes, so there's a shared access
Yeah,
easement
okay.
already in place.
So that gives them two there already, and then hopefully there'd be a third on the other side, you know, to come into the property, so,
That's great.
okay. Well, if any other comments or questions by the commissioners?
I asked Mike earlier as far as traffic control on 700 North with some of these businesses that may go in. And he assured me that there is a light going in.
That's correct. We're
At
current-
Anderson Boulevard, right?
Yeah, we're currently working with the property owners on both sides of 700 North on getting that property deeded to the city for the signal.
Okay. And that would come in on the west side of this development. I mean, it's not on this development, right? It's a little further down.
Yeah, it'll go in right here.
So as we develop that corner, we're probably gonna have all that in mind, right? How
Yeah.
that will flow, and
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why we did an LOI in that, because we wanna control how that kind of
Flows.
plays together, you know?
So not everyone has to do a U-turn to get to everything?
Yeah, yeah,
Like the rest of that road?
yeah. Let's not do that.
Excellent. Anything else, or else are we ready to open a public hearing?
Do you want me to make a motion?
Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
Make a motion, go
I'll make a motion
go ahead.
to open the public hearing.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. With that, maybe we'll ask you to take a seat there, and then anybody that wants to can come up and use the microphone. We appreciate, so is there anybody here from the public that would like to come and address the commission on this matter?
I think he had comments.
Yep, come on up.
I don't know that I need to anymore. Mike pretty much covered what I was going to say. He said everything. I'm Michael Cootley. I'm with Berkshire Hathaway. I am the representative for the sellers and also the agent that represents Jason and Charlie. But one of the things we really liked about this project, because it backs up to right where Ace is, and of course Mike already brought this up, it creates a nice buffer. It's a super tall building. No one's going to see any of that back there. And of course, nobody wants to build a nice restaurant, or any restaurant for that matter, next to a transfer station. But with this in place, it'll block the view, it'll block any issues that we would have with them. And of course, I've been there with the mayor, and talked with the guys that run that development, the transfer station. Those guys they're very conscientious about what they do. And honestly, we didn't smell any trash smell whatsoever, except when the trucks drove past us once. I mean, they're really good about trying to keep that. They have misters, they have all kinds of different things built in place because they have to, for one, but they're also they're not embarrassed to use them, and they do keep the site super clean. I was very adamant about trying to stop that when it first went in, and I still would like to not see it there, but since it's there, it is honestly the best situation we could have for that. Hopefully it'll go away eventually. But this building is perfect for that. I talked with Carolyn numerous times, and she mirrors that sentiment exactly. They have the two other parcels, we'll say partially under contract. We've agreed to work with them on the 4 acres between the boundary, the western boundary of this piece of this parcel here, and the road coming in the Anderson Boulevard, and then the other 5 acres on the other side of the road. So they're going to develop that for more restaurants. They're working on trying to get a hotel in there. They've got a couple things that they're working on right now. So we like the idea that they're really controlling the whole thing. And they're gonna make the play off of that sports complex that they're putting in. I cannot tell you how many people have contacted me about wanting to do a sports complex on this site. You know, at one time I had 3 people after me for it. So it's something that's obviously very desirable for the area. People want to do it.
What kind of, well, I'm sure there will be, but what kind of wall or barrier are you thinking you would put between the sports facility and the transfer?
Oh, as far as fencing? I don't know if they're gonna do anything like that in the development. I don't know that even a 10-foot, well, behind this building, I mean, it's pretty much going to be, from the looks of the design, there's either gonna be little or no public traffic back there. You might have some trucks, delivering things, for the sports facility, things like that. You might have, maybe employee parking back there. But as far as a tall fence, I don't know that one's needed, but again, we'll visit that during the development agreement.
Yeah.
And maybe not a fence so much, but maybe, I don't know, some tall trees, some cypress trees or something.
Seems like there should be some kind of separation. Don't
Could
you
be.
think?
This building creates a great separation just in itself. Jason, how tall is this building? 35, 40 feet?
So the peak in the middle is 40.
40?
40 feet, yeah.
Okay,
Then it varies from, I think the lowest point is like 30.
30. Mike, our limit is 80 in the area, right?
Yes.
So we could go twice this tall.
Well,
Because because it's commercial to commercial, technically they're not required to put in a wall. You know, that'll be up to them. I would encourage, you know, either a wall or some dense landscaping, but we'll
that's,
see what they.
yeah, I just thought that would be something you would want to have.
The building itself will create probably the best buffer that we could ask for. And the people at the restaurants in front will never know that there's anything back there. I don't think anybody will ever realize, because most people don't already. You know?
But then that warehouse is eventually supposed to be part of the sports facility, though.
Correct.
Yeah, but that won't change the look of it.
No,
I mean,
everything, it'll be
so
built.
it'll be the
just
same
from the start,
barrier.
it will look exactly like it's gonna look all the way through. And his, you know, I think it's a really, he's trying to make sure that the sports complex succeeds. And he's trying to hedge his bets and make sure that he covers all his costs in the best way he can, obviously during the expansion phase. You know, from startup to hopefully full growth could be a few years. So he needs something to cover those costs to make sure that the sports complex continues to be a success.
I'm
And I
sure.
think his plan is very solid.
When you hear your grandkids over there, that's all I wanna know.
Well,
If you do, then we'll be a success.
Yes, my grandkids will be there. They live in Anderson Farms.
All right, there
My
we go.
kids will be there.
Right.
and I do have grandchildren too that
My
play
kids
everything
like,
there is.
my grandkids, like your son, hopefully won't be playing out of state every week, basketball somewhere. Maybe we'll get some home games.
Yeah,
Seriously, no.
Yeah.
So we can come watch, huh?
I was looking at the restaurants that happen to be at the Pleasant Grove exit up there by PG Boulevard. We've got a lot of fast food there. So I think the chance for us to get something that's a little bit more upscale in this location is really a good solid, there's a good solid chance, because you've got Slim Chickens, you've got R&R, you've got another chicken place up there.
Smoking
you've got
tacos.
Jersey Blanks, you've got a lot of fast food up there. So
Yeah.
for them, for like, and I'm not saying Texas is upscale, but we could always use another Texas Roadhouse, because the one that we have in Orem is just buried alive all the time. We could probably stand to get another Olive Garden there, because, I mean, if you look at the traffic flow in the area and what you come from, it's a great spot for something like that. And I'm hoping for maybe a little more upscale interest in the area as far as that. And of course, the hotel.
Well, that would help seed that
I
for
vote
sure.
for Chick-fil-A. I vote for Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, the lines are around the building
We'll do our
whenever you go
best.
somewhere.
We'll do our best.
Yeah,
I can see the line around that one right now.
yeah.
What about Kane's Chicken? Would Kane's do it?
Chick-fil-A's better.
All right.
I think everybody thinks Chick-fil-A is better.
They have a better salad, so you can eat a salad before you go to the gym.
There you go, there you go.
are there any other, anybody else from the public that would like to address? This is why we have the public hearing open. Okay, so Mike, the city has asked us to consider continuing this. Would you like us to continue the public hearing, or do you think we're good with being done with the public hearing? Maybe we should ask council also what he thinks on that.
We meet the code, it's up to what Mike says. The code requires we have at least one public hearing before the planning commission. I don't see a great need to continue the public hearing.
I would ask you if you can, we're trying to get this thing done for next season, and we're up against the timeline of what that looks like, volleyball groups, all that stuff. So I don't know how that much that kicks it out, but
It's,
that does affect us.
Actually, it probably doesn't kick us out at all. We've already done the
No.
noticing time
Okay.
period for
Okay.
that, so it's not gonna change it. It's just if people wanna come in and
yeah,
for
so,
some reason you get somebody who wants to come in and argue strongly and present the
Base
whole.
hardware might be
Yeah.
affected, we're blocking them.
Yeah, something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But under the code, we are required to hold a public hearing. We've done that.
okay.
So,
So maybe I'll ask the commissioners too, and the applicant, if we continue the public hearing, because we've been asked to wait till we get the development agreement to finalize this. If we continue the public hearing, what that means is the next time we meet again to consider the development, would actually open it up for the public again to address us. It doesn't really expand the time at all, it's just that
Okay.
it would allow us to open the public hearing again versus saying, we've done our due diligence and we're done.
Got it.
I've been coming to these meetings.
Let's have, Mike, if
Oh,
you
yeah.
please come up.
Just so we can get on the record, if you can speak into the mic.
People can hear you.
As far as a public hearing, I've been coming to these meetings for 7.5 years. I have never seen anybody come and speak, as far as public commentary, on anything that we've ever planned here, from residential to commercial to anything. I've never seen a single person show up
Well,
to
that's not
speak
true,
either.
though.
I've never seen anybody, have you?
You may not have, but we often have public
And
hearings.
there are times, so,
Has that been against residential?
well,
Has that been opposed to residential? 'Cause I know we're not doing
A lot
residential.
of different,
A lot of
you know,
surprise you, what
You
the
don't
public
want
show
to
up
be
for.
here when it happens.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
So,
Mike, you're not considered public anymore, come sit down.
yeah. So, I'm ready to entertain a motion to either close the public hearing and be done with it, or if someone feels like we should, continue it so that the public.
Can we open it again?
Is there, Brian?
Yeah, we can, I mean, technically you can. The code allows you to take public comment whenever you want to, so.
So I say I move to close the public hearing.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, so the options are to continue it.
Or close it, but again, it doesn't preclude anybody
From
from
opening
us
it again.
allowing
The
public comment.
chairperson has the right to open the floor to the public if they
Right.
desire. It's expressly in our code, so.
Okay.
But
Steve has that right to do that.
if we continue it, then there's an obligation to open it again before it's closed? So do you want us to have to open it, or do you want to leave it in the discretion of the chair to take public
That's
comment?
what I want to do.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any other comments or questions before we vote? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried unanimously?
yeah, and, I mean, we can still work through this, all we need to do, you know, all
Yes,
we
it's
need
just
to.
that we're not required now. We've met the requirement of the law to hold a public hearing. One other question real quick before we go on, Brian. I introduced this as item 4, but I believe this is both item 4 and 5. Do we need to open a separate public hearing for item 5?
Yes.
And are you gonna present separately, or should we do that now?
I think you'd need to make a motion. I'm not gonna present separately, so you
Okay.
can continue with that motion.
Go through that formality.
So we have the formality of, we just had a public hearing for the recommendation to amend the Lindon City General Plan. Now, is there someone that could make a motion to open the public hearing for recommendation to amend the Lindon City zoning map? So we talked,
I will make that motion.
okay, we have a motion?
Do we want to continue the first one first, or does that matter?
We already closed it.
Do we want to vote?
But we want to continue the item. We close the public hearing.
Okay,
We're going to
so
continue
let's
the
go
item.
with, yeah, would someone,
I'll make a motion.
why don't we make a motion for item 4?
Okay, I move to recommend continuance of ordinance 2024-09-0 to amend the Lindon City General Plan Future Land Use Map for commercial gateway to mixed commercial pending the development agreement. Development.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is carried unanimously, so that will be continued for the development agreement, and then we'll meet again on that. So now, we've already heard the presentation for item 5, which is for the zoning map. So do we have a motion to open the public hearing? I think we had a motion. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open the public hearing for item 5.
Who made the, sorry, for the
Scott
minutes,
made the
who made the,
I think, Scott, you made the motion, so we probably can't have you second
I'll
it.
second it.
I thought she did.
So we have the motion from Scott, the second from Rob. We got that, okay? Okay, we have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So, anybody from the general public that would like to comment on the zoning map recommendation? Okay, hearing that there isn't any, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries also, and the public hearing is closed.
Could I ask just one more time, explain where the zone extends from the change?
Let's see. So, let me go back to this map.
Yeah, that's the best map.
So it would be this red area here. So the front stays Lindon Village Commercial,
Okay.
and the red would be that
Doesn't affect
mixed
anything to the
commercial.
west?
What's it? No, it stops at that parcel line.
Okay, just
Right
wanted to make
here.
sure that was clear. Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments on the, I'm assuming when we get to this point that the zone change will be conditional of the development agreement? Right, so we're just not changing it so that then something else could come
We
in.
need to continue this item too. We'll do them all at our next meeting when we have the development agreement taken care of. Because state code expressly requires us, when we're doing a zone change based on a development agreement, it requires a recommendation from the planning commission. And we want it, that recommendation to include all of these items, so.
And just so, in case we need to work on anything that you've seen, do you have any feedback that you can give myself and the applicant that you would like to see or address that you have any concerns about? So we can make sure this gets passed at the next meeting if this is the direction you're going.
Like I said, my biggest concern is if we can get something in there that, for the retail. I mean, if that's possible to get something in that agreement that those,
Sounds like it's all contingent on Chick-fil-A.
yeah, write that right
Not
in there,
completely,
right?
but yeah.
Other than that, I think, at least from my point of view, it's a great barrier and something for that, this is like something I think we've been kind of waiting for. There is the risk of it turning into a full warehouse building, but I hope that risk is very minimal. And so,
How can it turn into a full warehouse building when that commercial part cannot be changed?
Because the zone change we're making
the zone
would
change will allow that building.
would
if-
allow that building to be office warehouse.
Yeah, that's why we're
But
changing.
that front part
No,
has to stay
well-
commercial.
If they tore the building
Right.
down and started over again, they could put,
Well, that's what the development
That's what
agreement.
the development agreement is all about, and
Yeah.
we're gonna write in, we've talked about if it doesn't work, instead of going to full warehouse, we're going to be putting storefronts in there.
Well, that was
storefront.
my
That's
understanding, that
what's
it,
gonna protect
They're
about
built right up
becoming-
front, so, yeah.
it would stay commercial, that front part. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, it would stay commercial, whether it be retail or not, is part of what we'll have to see in the degree, what the agreement says.
Right.
But I think maybe Sharon's comment is that in that agreement, something that says if it goes bad, what will happen there is probably important,
Right, and we've discussed that, and we've got ideas on how we're gonna make that.
that we can,
well, I think it's great. I think overall the concept's good. I think the location, I would question it in other parts of the corridor. But in this location, I think this is the perfect location for it. And I think it'll be a great catalyst for getting things started, so I support it.
Well, I think it's a good location for the applicant too, so,
so,
yeah.
yeah. Once again, staff has asked any other comments so that as they work with the applicant, they can make sure. It does sound like we're on a tight schedule for the applicant, so anything you can think of that we should put in now so that next meeting when we're finalizing this, we don't have to continue it again.
I like that they have lots of parking, because that is the hardest thing when you go to these tournaments.
We
I
might
can-
we might actually build in more parking on that corner too.
I like that.
So, yeah.
And I saw a little landscaping in there too, right?
That'd have to meet the landscaping requirements and
Code
stuff
on
of
that.
the code, so.
Yeah.
No, I
Okay.
think it's great.
So do they have to meet the landscaping for commercial or for warehouse? How are you gonna
That's
work
what
that?
we'll put in.
That'll be in the development
Be a
agreement.
hybrid, that'll be in the development.
Agreement.
Lindon Village Zone will still require, the landscaping across the street. We require
Right.
12 feet of landscaping, the 10-foot trail, then the 8 feet of landscaping, and so.
On the front part.
We have the interior parking landscaping requirements, so.
But that was a good question, Sharon, because didn't have that in the development agreement, then the zone, those conditions would apply, so.
Right.
That's a good question.
Okay. Anything else from the commission? Questions? If not, I'll ask for a motion to continue this item.
And if where we continue it, then do we include all of these bullet points, or what do we have
At this
to
point, we'll just
continue?
continue it, waiting upon the development agreement, and then we can put the points in when we're done.
So we're asking for a motion to amend the Lindon zoning map.
Right.
Yep,
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
yeah.
I move to recommend to continue ordinance 2024-10-0 to amend the Lindon City zoning map from Lindon Village Commercial to Mixed Commercial for a portion of the parcel located,
as in-
for just a portion of the park, 14-:050:0051 as indicated in the adopting ordinance with conditions listed in the staff report, 1 through 3.
Yeah, I second that motion. I think it's good.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to continue this item. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. So I think you're getting some great positive feedback. We just need to see that development agreement, and we'll be ready to move on it. So we're excited. Thank you for bringing this to us.
Basketball skills.
Yeah.
I'll just say, if it makes you feel any better, Jason brought up the stuff in Cedar Hills, I'm sure you're probably all familiar with. There was a Taco Bell there, there was just a Starbucks there, now there's Cafe Rio there.
Oh, if you just, sorry.
You're gonna go write your name down.
Now I gotta say.
Now you
Yeah.
Sit down.
Now we know you're here.
It's because people online want to hear you.
Charlie Openshaw is my name. I was just saying before, you're probably familiar with the new development that's gone on in Cedar Hills. The city, I was a developer on that, and we did a very similar deal that we're doing here, in that we knew we could get some retail, specifically food users, but we knew we could get some retail on that 10 acres that the city had, actually. But the city, we also had the opportunity to build a storage facility. The city did not want to do a storage facility there. If you notice in the back, there's a self-storage, indoor self-storage facility. So we eventually, they eventually said, okay, we'll let you do the storage facility if you make it look nice, which we think we did. And as soon as we did that, it just blew up as far as Taco Bell, Cafe Rio, Starbucks, they just all came, and I really think that that's going to happen here on this site, and it'll be just beautiful. I think we can make it really nice.
But Cedar Hills also are very strict on their architectural guidelines. I mean, they're.
Yes, that is
They're
the most
fast.
expensive self-storage facility that you'll probably ever see.
Well, and their Taco Bell, all those, their Walmart, all those things are very upstage. So
Yes.
probably on this corridor, we would expect similar things.
Yeah, well, I'm with Jason. We live locally, and
Yeah,
we drive by it every day. We don't want to look at, anything that's not nice, but,
yeah.
I'm going to sit down now.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you. I think it's great. So we're ready to move on to item 6, which is the planning director and commissioner reports.
I don't have anything. I emailed everyone that update on Songbird Cove. I don't know if you had a chance to see that yet on the rental restriction. I think it was 20%. They had some exceptions in there too.
lots of exceptions.
Yeah, lots of exceptions.
And that's just being monitored and by the homeowners association, correct? I mean,
Yes.
that's,
Yep.
well, I appreciate you looking that up. Thank you.
What is the progress on the front development there?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
What's the progress, if any, on the front development there in the bank?
Oh, they had a meeting with UDOT today, and I wasn't able to attend it, but they had a access permit meeting with UDOT today. I'll have to check with engineering and see how that went, but they're really close. They should be submitting building plans within the next couple weeks. So I think the only thing I'm missing from them is the stormwater agreement, and then just a final design on the back, how we wanted that to vary a little bit on that east end of the building. So,
When I look at this Songbird Cove and all the exceptions, you could have a lot of those units that are rented, with all the exceptions to the 20%.
And that's happening. I mean, I know some of the ones that are rented now are rented by kids of the people who own them, and that's accepted.
legitimate,
I just
yeah.
hope that they have a good mechanism that when those kids move out, that it just doesn't automatically become rented to, then that would exceed the 20% because,
yeah.
but that's all has to be managed by their homeowners association. I hope they will do it.
But I think having that, once it evolves to that where it's rented out by the individual owners along the way, I think that's better than the developer coming in and building this thing for us and saying, oh, we're never gonna rent the whole thing out
This
and
is
try to control it.
investments. Yeah.
Rather than just the individual homeowners over time,
Well, and it's to their benefit not to exceed the 20%, or they run themselves into financing issues for even able to resell.
Yeah.
It limits the options for getting mortgages in there. And they don't want to shoot themselves in the foot and not be able to sell things in there.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a little bit self-policing, unless they're idiots.
Are there any other items that, Scott?
Yeah, I think I'll take a minute with Mike afterwards if you have a few moments. I was contacted by the resident down, behind the old Fazari. We approved a condo complex back in there. Not a condo, a commercial condominium project that's pretty much completed, and it has a emergency access over off of coming down onto the street.
Off 800 West.
Yeah, I was contacted by the owner there. He's a little bit frustrated. They're not doing what he thought they were supposed to do. So I was at his property. I snapped some photos. I'll show you his concerns.
Lot.
Have you?
We have, so
Okay. Is it him or is it, it looks like there's some hazards because they have the big wall.
Mm-hmm.
They have the big wall. They don't want soil pushing up against it, so they built another wall, but it just leaves a giant cliff there.
Yeah,
It's almost like there needs to be a fence across there. Something needs to be done to.
Yeah, and I don't know what the agreement was between those two property owners, but we made the Sunrise Warehouse do a whole new engineering study and have their geotechnical engineer and structural engineer out there last week, and so we had them reevaluate that.
No. Okay, yeah, I'll show you these pictures. You've probably seen it.
I've got lots of pictures of
Okay,
it too.
good. He was just concerned. He realizes, I think his impression was everything's going the way it was supposed to, but he sort of felt like, oh, he sort of let them slide on things and then maybe they took advantage a little bit. But that was just his impression. There's two sides of that story.
And I don't know what the agreement was between those two.
Yeah.
What we went after was, there is a small little slope, like you have in your picture there. So we wanted their geotechnical engineer to look at that and make sure the wall covered all of that.
Okay, all right, so
so
you're aware of it. That's all,
I am.
that's all. I just told him I'd bring it up, so you're obviously aware of it, and that's good.
Yeah, there's things he's gonna have to watch out for, like he wants to put a barn back there.
Right.
And he needs to also make sure, because there's the geotechnical fabric that goes back from the retaining wall. It's, the retaining wall is huge. And so there's different geofabric that goes back into the property. So he has to be really careful too with any digging that he's agreed to, that he doesn't compromise anything.
Yeah, it's my impression this barn and all this stuff is probably a pipe dream, but he still wants to.
Yeah, he's got his horses in his, right outside his back door right now, so.
Right.
Who doesn't?
That's all, might as well, they're big dogs.
Anything else from the commissioners?
At least they're not
I
eating in
thought
the
it was
family room.
interesting, and then I asked Mike about it, but, that yesterday, I guess, they started on Center Street as far as doing the curbs and gutters and things like that, and so that Center Street goes up to the temple. So they started on that yesterday, so that's neat.
Thanks for warning me, I'll stay off.
Yeah, you can't get here down Center Street to here. You can't. And just by way of comment, 835 was such a mess for so long, and it is so nice now. You know, Temple View Drive, it's really nice. So, it took a long time to get there.
Okay. Is there any other comments?
I was gonna ask, did you hear back from that business about the weeds? I know it's.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to read.
This landscaping that's like weeds as tall as I am, we go walking there all the time and I'm like, what is this? It's like poking me now.
Yeah, I did
So
get,
bad.
I had some email correspondence back and forth with them. They were embarrassed that, the weeds were that tall. They said they were gonna get right on it. but,
Okay, well, we'll see what that means.
Yeah,
And then just, Mike, if you can clarify for me, we'll have a meeting on the 25th,
yes.
correct? That's when
Pull that up.
we'll hopefully have this item come back. That's what it sounds like they hope, is to have this item come back. And then in July, we only have one meeting, is that correct?
We do. In July and August, we typically only have one meeting those 2 months. And so our meeting in July will be on the 9th.
And I will be out of town.
I will be, let me see that.
I'll be in the hospital, but I can video in if you need.
Maybe.
I think I'll be back.
Yeah, I will be.
My plane gets in late the 8th, so if I don't get stranded
But
somewhere.
let's make sure we talk on the 25th.
And make sure we have a
So we have a
quorum.
quorum, and at that time too, I'll know if there's anything coming up on the agenda as well, and so if we need to push it a week or something, I try to get it before the council meeting, in case I have anything that needs to go to council the following week, but we can look at that. And then in
Then in August,
August,
it's on
looks
the
like it's the
13th.
13th.
Okay,
It's on the 13th, okay.
okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Anything else? Okay, we did all that in an hour. That's great.
Great.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I still haven't gotten opposed on that motion yet.
I'm always.
Thank you.
And these are pretty nice, this is a nice little